So I'm going to be extremely late with this one, but let's go ahead and go over all of the amazing things that we're going to be getting with patch 6.2 for Final Fantasy XIV. The live letter was yesterday, so there's already been a lot of recaps, but I haven't really had a whole lot of time. Like I've mentioned in my previous video, August has been absolute struggle month for me. So let's go through some of the amazing things that we're going to be getting naturally with patch 6.2. We're going to be getting new main scenario quests. For those of you that are kind of new, because I do know that a lot of people have been coming in new into Final Fantasy XIV, maybe Endwalker is like your first kind of like current expansion. When it comes to these new main scenario quests, usually you can expect anywhere from like 90 minutes to 3 hours of additional main story quests, at least if you are taking your time, enjoying the cutscenes, doing all of that jazz. We have new side quests, which is kind of like a reminder for me to just like, hey, Rurikhan, make some time for Final Fantasy XIV and do friggin' Tataru's Grand Endeavor, which I still haven't done, and also go ahead and do Hildebrand as well while you're at it, which I still haven't had the time to do because, like I said, I've been struggling quite a bit to find some time to do pretty much anything. That's because I've been split up into several different games, and it's really wild. I will say, I think I'm pretty much on the last step of Realm Reborn when it comes to Hildebrand. And I'll say I greatly enjoyed every single Hildebrand quest line that I have done. It's just most of my time in 14 over the last couple of months when I have played 14 has been to do progress on Panamonium Savage, which I've completed, by the way. And it's like, I know that I mentioned that on a lot of videos because not everybody watches all of the videos. Just kind of like to, you know, in case anybody's been wondering what I have been doing, I'm not bragging about Savage. I don't think it's like, oh my god, I've beaten the freaking, it's amazing. It's like, no, I don't think it's that big a deal, and it took me way longer than I initially expected to even beat it. But anyways, you know, new MSQ, new side quests for Tataru's Grand Endeavor, as well as further Hildebrand adventures. Pretty freaking cool. Then over here we have new weapon enhancement quests. By the way, the Hildebrand Adventures is going to be in patch 6.25, which means that first we get 6.2, which has a lot of the other features that we're going to be talking about, and then a little bit later we will receive 6.25, which will include the Hildebrand stuff. So Tataru's Grand Endeavor comes with 6.2. Then we have new weapon enhancement quests in 6.25. This is going to be the relic weapons, and this time it's going to be tied to Hildebrand, which, you know, has people wondering, is it going to be joke weapons? Is it going to be cool if they're joke weapons? Who the hell knows? I personally am super curious, but again, I definitely need to get through and do the rest of the Hildebrand questline. I'm still not sure if that is going to be a requirement or not, and I don't think they specifically mentioned anything about that. At least I read through some of the information that was made available in the Final Fantasy XIV Reddit Discord, which, by the way, once again, massive shout out to the team that runs, you know, and does the translations of the live letter. Massive shout out. You guys are doing the Lord's work. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much, because, you know, the live letters are entirely in Japanese, and I wouldn't be able to understand a damn thing if you guys weren't doing the translation. Also, great work with the screen grabs as well. So, but yeah, new weapon enhancement patch, relic with tied to the Hildebrand adventure. It's going to be interesting. New tribal quests. This is going to be the Omicrons and Ultima Thule. By the way, there are going to be some spoilers. Some of you guys will be like, what the hell is Ultima Thule? If you are not up to snuff with some of the Endwalker stuff, maybe you don't know who the Omicrons are, but, you know, either way, there are going to be some spoilers throughout this video. So, new tribal quests, patch 6.25. These are going to be for the Disciples of the Land, which means gathering professions. These type of things actually are the main reason why I have a armor smith and a miner. It is specifically to do beast tribe quests. I am not kidding. I don't actually do any crafting or gathering normally beyond stuff like custom deliveries and tribal quests, which it is well worth having, because in case all you have is a combat job, in my opinion, you would benefit greatly, because some of the tribal quests are actually friggin' amazing. Like, for instance, the Dwarves of the First, my favorite tribe, like, out of all of them, and it was a fantastic quest line that we did, and you also get, like, a tank. So for this one, you are going to be getting, I don't know if they show it yet, but they might show it, I think we actually show it a little bit further ahead in another slide, but you are going to be getting a mount out of the tribal quest. So yes, it is well worth your time. You can see a screen grab here of the Omicron with the Warrior of Light and Aloperates. These are probably going to be, you know, this is going to be a part of the quest line and whatnot. we're going to be getting a new dungeon, which, by the way, sorry, my voice is kind of like going away. We're going to be getting a new dungeon, which is going to be related to the story. This dungeon was prominently featured in the trailer, and it looked friggin' amazing. I really like some of the music that they've shown, which I'm not exactly sure if it's tied to this dungeon or maybe it's tied to the next tier of the Panamonium raid. But either way, we're going to be getting a new dungeon called the Fell Court of Troya, and we're going to be getting new trials, which are also going to include an extreme version, but they're not revealing what those are yet. But Yoshi P did say that this time around the trials are going to be connected to the MSQ, which is not always the case. Sometimes they do separate quest lines for these trials, or maybe just straight up separate quests and they just separate the whole thing. But this time, as it turns out, the trial is going to be connected to the MSQ, so that'll be interesting as well. Then we have, obviously, a new raid tier as well. It's called Panamonium Abyssus, and it's going to come with Panamonium Abyssus Savage as well, and that is going to be releasing 1 week after the patch drops. So personally, you know, as someone who hasn't really raided Savage before, hasn't really paid too much attention to it, I was not even aware of the fact that, you know, this thing comes out simultaneously, so you get the regular raid and the Savage raid at the same time. I think it is very healthy for them to give players like a week to just enjoy the regular raid and then jump into Savage, as opposed to just like, you know, getting players, okay, go through the main raid super fast, don't even enjoy it, and then go to Savage super fast, go, gotta go fast. Like, I think this is much healthier, particularly for the people that want to enjoy the race to world first and that type of stuff, but that's just my opinion. Let me know how you guys feel about it. Is there anyone that actually does not like this particular solution? I would almost argue that 2 weeks would be even better so that we could really take it at a slow pace, but I think there are some concerns there of players kind of just like stacking up gear from tombstones and stuff like that, making Savage maybe a little bit easier than intended. Not exactly sure if that is the reasoning why, but I do really like the fact that there's a delay so that you can take your time enjoying the regular raid and then jump into Savage, so that's a really cool thing. There's new Unreal trial, which is Sephiroth and not Sephiroth, which players who've played Final Fantasy XIV will know who that is, and that is a pretty cool trial. I'm going to imagine that it's going to be extremely hard. I remember wiping, like, we took our raid team one night and we went to do, like, Ultima Unreal, and we even wiped there a couple of times because a lot of us never did Ultima back in the day, because my group actually consists of a lot of players that I think we kind of got into the game, like, around Shadowbringers. So it's actually cool for us to go back and experience some of these older fights. I'm giving you like the perspective of someone who joined Final Fantasy XIV for real. Like, I played it in 2013 or whatever when it came out, but then, you know, in reality, I really started playing properly in 2019. So this is the perspective that I'm bringing to you. Not necessarily Final Fantasy XIV veteran, but someone who's still kind of like wet behind the ears, but having a blast of a time with the damn game. We have some improvements to main scenario quests. They added duty support to Snowcloak, Keeper of the Lake, Salmal, the area in the vault. These are all dungeons that you now can do with NPCs. They actually showed some of the vault as well as the area in the trailer. If you guys saw my trailer reaction, you guys might wonder. You guys might remember that I was wondering why was Lady Iceheart like in the trailer. I was like, well, why is she in the trailer? But the reality is they were probably showcasing pieces of the area when she's supposed to be on our party, which is pretty cool that they're adding her and Istinian to be playable as a part of your party in that section of the game, because I think that would just make the experience much more meaningful, particularly taking into account the events that then happened throughout Heavensward. The vault as well. I'm going to redo the vault, by the way. When they unlock this, I'm going to redo the vault just to play the vault alongside Orshenfall. And I'm going to turn on cutscenes. Never forget. Anyway, they changed the Steps of Faith. It is now a solo quest battle. I think it makes sense because, you know, it's kind of like a little bit of a longer trial. Personally, I didn't mind doing it. I thought it was really cool. Whenever I got it, I still enjoyed that particular trial, but I think some players are not particularly fond of getting that in their trial roulette or whatever. So it makes sense, and probably not a lot of players are queuing for that specifically, which can be kind of like a bit of a hurdle. I think that this is something that Final Fantasy XIV is doing really well, which is like whenever there is something that either takes too much time or maybe is just like not the best experience for a new player, they actually go back and they fix it and they make it better. And even though I played it in the old way, so to speak, it's like I really appreciate that they're making things a little bit, they're smoothing out the edges for new players, because I feel like the developers of Final Fantasy XIV understand something that I feel like a lot of developers in video games don't really understand. And that is that whenever you have a long-running game that's been running for a long-ass time, it is important to keep in mind that you need to make it accessible to new players. New players need to be able to come into the experience and have kind of like a smooth experience throughout. You don't want to have too much attrition, because otherwise you're going to be driving away new players. And new blood is essential for the continued sustained development of MMOs. At least in my opinion. So these things that smooth out some of the older content, I understand that maybe some of the veteran players might think like, oh, why do they need to be doing this? Who cares? And it's like, it's extremely important. It is so important. So yeah. They also revamped the Duty Thorn March. I don't even remember what this one's about, so whatever. Then we have some job adjustments and PvP updates. I think there's some more detailed slides in here, even though I don't really talk too much about PvP. Island Sanctuary, variant dungeons, Criterion dungeons, bro. I am all about these variant dungeons, Criterion dungeons. I cannot wait to see what these play out like. Looks like these are actually going to be coming in 6.25, which is a good thing, because it's going to give me time to actually experience the raid and the Island Sanctuary without being overwhelmed with wanting to go do variant dungeons. But then again, when 6.25 comes out, we're going to have variant dungeons plus relic weapon grinds plus all of these other things. It's going to be friggin' wild, dude. But yeah, variant dungeons, Criterion dungeons is the thing that I'm probably most excited for. Then we have some miscellaneous updates. Elegant tombstones of causality added. I'm assuming that these are the green tombstones that we're going to be seeing in some of the future screen grabs that I have here. And these are probably going to be the new, like, end game tombstones. Then we have new item level crafted gear added, which they actually have a couple of screenshots. We're going to be looking at it in a second here. Ability to request repairs from other players. This is really cool, simply because you can ask other players to repair, and this is going to allow you to do so inside of duty. We actually had a situation where one of our players, we had to end the raid early, because the way that we were doing on our static, we were raiding like 2 hours, 3 nights a week or something like that, very casual. So we're raiding 2 hours, and then before we were running out of time for P4S on the second phase, one of our players actually had their gear break. And we were like, bro, what the hell? So we had to end the raid early, because we weren't going to re-clear the first phase of P4S just to go in there to fight for like 5 minutes or whatever. So yeah, this is good, because I'm an armor smith. I probably could have repaired his gear if I was allowed, because I don't think you're allowed to repair someone else's gear on the duty. So that's a good thing. And this is potentially one of the most important things that they could do to enable players to become familiar with a new job. Because combo sequence display added to the actions list. So for those of you who don't know what this means that there's a thing in game which is an actions list that's like all of your abilities that you have for your character. And then you go and you select and you put them on your hotbar and all of that stuff, and you start playing the character. The thing is, when you don't know exactly, you know, how those abilities go, like what is the sequence of those abilities, it can be really challenging. Like every single time that I swap to a brand new job that I haven't played all that much, I need to spend like 2 hours looking at the bars, striking a dummy, doing all kinds of crazy things just to set up the abilities for that specific job. Having a combo sequence displayed in there is going to be so good. I'm super curious to see what this looks like. I don't think they actually showed it during the live letter, but this is potentially one of the most important features that they could have done, because again, it makes things easier for new players coming into the game. Like for me, it's not that important anymore, because I'm much more familiar with the mechanics of the game now. I'm not saying that I'm an amazing gamer or anything like that, but I can like look at the abilities and be like, okay, I'm supposed to use this one, and then probably this one, and then probably this one, and try to work stuff out, because I now kind of know how these combos work. But having the sequence there, I think, is going to be a really, really, really big deal. So I'm super happy that they're doing that. Critical and direct hit adjustments. Critical and direct hit, to me, it's like I don't really min-max to that level. I just look at the balance Discord and I'm like, they say this one's good. Even though I will say that when I'm playing Paladin, they constantly, you know, they say that one of the best melds. Obviously, the best meld is always crit. And then when it comes to the Paladin, one of the second best melds is going to be direct hit. But what I end up doing is like, I'm not a huge fan of direct hit, so I just put determination because it also influences like how much you heal and whatnot. And I kind of feel like there are situations, and I could be wrong because again, I don't really do the entire math of it, but I do feel like there are situations where depending on how good you are, like if you're the best player in the world and you can assure 100% uptime on your combo, I believe direct hit's going to be the best. If you're not the best player in the world and maybe you can't do 100% uptime all the time, I kind of feel like determination might come out on top. But again, this is very much just like, this is from my very limited experience. But yeah, basically they're doing direct, some abilities that have guaranteed direct hit crits. I think that Warrior has some of those. They're making those deal more damage because apparently direct hit was giving them no benefit. Again, I don't know how important this is going to be for a majority of the player base. We're just going to look at balance, all right? We just look at balance. We see what, at least that's the way that I do it. Some of the PvP updates, they talked about like, you know, new seasons and stuff and all of that. You're still going to be able to get the rewards from Season 1 if you still didn't get those throughout the duration of Season 2, which I think is pretty generous. But, you know, after Season 2, not Season 2, Season 3, but, you know, after that, your series, because it's seasons and then it's series. Yeah, you're still going to be able to get the rewards from Series 1 during Series 2. But after that, I think it's going to be moving on. So keep that in mind. But apparently there's going to be demotion because people were apparently getting to Crystal and then just like memeing around. And there was a lot of people that were getting like frustrated with that or something like that. So yeah, I think that I ended up in Diamond. Was I a Diamond or Platinum? I think I ended up in Diamond for Series 1 PvP because, you know, when I started getting here, I started noticing more and more cheating happening, and it became extremely frustrating. One of the biggest things for me when it comes to PvP is I hope they can come up with some kind of a system to detect cheaters better because there's definitely a lot of people that are using cheats in the game right now. And it's very unfortunate, like we even have the situation where there's people cheating in like raids and the ultimate. I'm not sure if you guys saw that. I'm probably going to make a separate video talking about that because it's just a really nasty situation. But yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, just be aware that Season 3 onwards, you will be getting demoted. And by the way, I think they're like resetting everyone back to like Bronze 3 or whatever at the start of Season 3. So be wary. They're going to be doing some adjustments, which it says matching will undergo overall adjustments. This is really cool in my opinion. New enhanced matching will allow for dynamic adjustments to matching based on current tier population and more, performed independently of patch releases and other maintenance. The reason I think this is important is because I feel like whenever you have some kind of PvP, it's always important to make sure that the matchmaking is as fair as possible because that is how you ensure that you have fresh blood coming in to play the game. This specific mode, because otherwise people will people will get burned out if they're just like queuing into it and getting destroyed, or if they're just queuing into it and absolutely destroying. Yes, it actually works both ways. You might think not, but if someone is queuing into PvP and they're consistently just obliterating the enemy team, they will collect the rewards and then they'll probably be done because like there's no challenge. So it works both ways. Sure, probably if you are queuing in and completely obliterating the enemy team, you might last a little bit longer than someone who is queuing in and getting completely obliterated, but you want to have even matching, and it is very important to constantly strive to achieve that. I've seen plenty of games that don't do this when it comes to PvP, and it's very frustrating. Withdrawal mid-duty or after matching has been completed will result in stricter penalties, as it should. Do not leave. It's like, look, if you don't have time to play a match of Crystalline Conflict, don't queue into it. It's that simple. Like, if I'm taking care of my kids at home, I am not queuing into a Crystalline Conflict because my daughter might need to go to the bathroom, or, you know, something might happen that I need to take my attention away. I am not going to be queuing into a PvP match because I'm going to be screwing the rest of my team. It's just that simple. It's just basic etiquette. Come on. Don't queue up and leave. Villains do that. They talk a little bit more about Panamonium Abyssus. I'm not really going to be showing, you know, screen grabs of bosses and stuff like that because I want to keep that as blind as possible for myself, and I don't know how many people care about that or not, but personally I like going in completely blind and just experiencing the raids blind because I find it more interesting. That's just the way that I do whenever it comes to content. We got some miscellaneous updates here. One of these is extremely important. So one of the things that I talk about is rare materials added to ethereal reductions. This is like Disciple of the Hand and Disciple of the Land stuff. I don't really pay too much attention. I think this is collectibles. I've done some ethereal reductions because like I'll pick up a collectible for some reason, then end up not using it for anything. But it's a good thing that we get rare materials for that. So maybe there's a reason for actually, you know, doing collectibles and then reducing it. I'm not exactly sure if that is the case or not. Either way, Glamour Dresser Capacitor expanded from 400 to 800! Yes! Even though I will say, I know that it's probably because Spaghetti Code, they can't really do it the same way that World of Warcraft does it. But, you know, due to the fact that in this channel, a lot of times we talk about how, you know, World of Warcraft is doing this thing bad, Final Fantasy XIV is doing this thing good. The Glamour Dresser is definitely a situation where the opposite is true. World of Warcraft does it much better in terms of how you can collect the pieces. However, in my opinion, 14 does it much better in how you can apply the glamour, because you can set glamour plates, whereas in World of Warcraft, every time you use a glamour plate, the equivalent of glamour plate, pay gold. And I'm just like, nope, Final Fantasy XIV is free. I think it's way cooler. So, you know, there are aspects and things. And for those of you that play 14 and you might be wondering, well, what does World of Warcraft actually do better? Well, in World of Warcraft, every time you pick up an item, it gets added into, let's call it World of Warcraft's Glamour Dresser. It has no limit. So basically you can pick up every single item in the game and you have unlimited space in the dresser. And everything that you soulbound to yourself just gets added into a database and it unlocks that appearance for you. Like literally anything. So for instance, if you were to go through the new dungeon that is coming, because every new dungeon always has its own like glamour set, so to speak, right? It has like a full set for every job. Not every job, every role. It has a full glamour set for every role. When you pick that glamour set up and you equip it, it would become soulbound to your character. That's the way it works in WoW. And that would just become unlocked in your Glamour Dresser. That's the way it works in World of Warcraft, which I think is way cooler. Unfortunately, it seems like Spaghetti Code does not allow for that, but you know, it is what it is. Doubling the size, it's still massive benefit. Although Yoshi P did point out, don't just go adding everything into it because we know you're going to come back and ask us for more. And this is probably stressing out the servers a little bit more, but they are adding server capacity, so maybe that, you know, technologically allows them to expand the dresser. Adjustments to the order of certain return to Evilist quests. I hated the Evilist quests. Like, I'm sorry. I do not have any, like, I never played Final Fantasy XII, never played Final Fantasy Tactics, and I know that I'm going to get a lot of pushback from that. I apologize for my transgressions, but, like, as someone who had absolutely no nostalgia for those games, the Evilist quests were hard. I love the raids. The raids were amazing, but the actual quests themselves were hard. In accordance to this quest, making bacon bread and walk on by will become available. If these are the quests where you have to go do the thing to get the wine again, great. Get rid of them. Delete those quests. Jesus Christ. Anyway, now we have some of the sets here that we're going to be talking about. This is the crafted set for tanks. Looks friggin' amazing. They were saying it looks kind of like Elden Ring-ish, so to speak. I mean, obviously in my character, every time I look at a set, I instantly imagine he's just going to have the hat, the Animos hat, because my character always has the Animos hat. It's like my signature thing because it's kind of like the hat that I have in real life. What do I give tips of the hat with, you know? So, yeah, my character's always going to have the hat. But either way, I think that this armor set looks really good. And I find it interesting. A lot of people sometimes criticize the presentation format that they do here. I kind of feel like this adds texture to the presentation. It's like, oh yeah, he's just holding out a piece of paper that he printed. I too like physical media that I can kind of touch as opposed to just like a digital image. There's something cool about that. But yeah, the tanking set looks fantastic. Then we have the maiming set here. For the Reapers, I think it also looks pretty damn cool. The Scythe in particular looks freaking awesome, even though I'm not really someone who cares that much about Reapers. I'm actually using my Reaper to level the tribal quests for the Archon Sodara. Even the bards get a little bit of plating on their gear, which is cool. Looks meaty, you know? I like it. And then the is this the yeah, this is the healer set. I was about to say the caster set. This is the healer set because this is like a scholar, right? At least I'm assuming it's a scholar. It doesn't really have a fairy. Is it the because I think that, yeah, this is the caster set. So this is the healer set. Healer set looks all right, you know, healer robes. I'm not like a huge fan of healer robes. I don't like the mask thing here though. Personal preference, but yeah. And then the caster set actually looks really cool. This, I feel like they chose the perfect job to showcase it. This, I'm assuming, is Red Mage with the sword here. And Red Mage looks particularly good with this set, with the hood and stuff. Interesting that it's a Vieira with a hood. Can Vieiras already use hoods? Like, I don't know, because isn't that like a big thing? Vieiras and Rothgars and hats and hoods and stuff. But yeah, I think it looks pretty cool. Then over here, this is the Tombstone Gear. This is the tanking gear. I don't know. I like the gunblade that it's got going here, but the rest of the set, I'm like, I don't know. I think it looks all right. I'm not too jazzed up about it, but that's because there's a pretty unfair comparison term coming up. Don't worry. Here's the monk one. Looks all right. I think for a monk, it actually looks pretty cool. And then here is the ninja one. I think the ninja one also looks pretty sweet. Almost looks like influenced a little bit. I mean, the whole face mask thing always reminds me of Nier, even though it probably has nothing to do with Nier inspiration or something. It's just like a thing that they do, because I think this also kind of suits the whole Thavnarian vibe. But yeah, it looks pretty cool. And then in here we have the Sage set, or the... Wait, didn't we see... Oh, no, this is Tombstone. I was like, we already saw Healers. Yeah, but it was Healers Crafted. This is Healers Tombstone. I think it looks pretty nice. I actually do like this one. Reminds me a little bit of like Chinese monk robes kind of thing going on there. Yeah, I dig it. I dig it a lot. I'm probably going to be swapping back to Scholar as my main healer, though. Just like a random thought there. And... when I saw this... I instantly went onto the channel where I usually talk with people from my static, which we're currently on a break because we finished the tier, we grinded everything out, and we're done. I instantly went to that channel, and I started this tier as a paladin, and I ended the tier as a warrior just because it was easier. I kind of feel like playing as a paladin, you need a more disciplined static, because not everybody is going to have the discipline to stand behind wings when you pop wings and stuff like that. Whereas playing as a warrior, just like, no, I'm going to shake it off and you're going to take the shake it off and I don't care. It's more about me positioning rather than the party positioning. So I ended up swapping to warrior, make things easier, but I want this next tier now that we have a little bit of synergy going on our team. I'm like, I want to go back to paladin. And when I saw this, I was like, I need to go back to paladin. Look at this flaming sword, dude. And I know there's already a flaming sword in the game. I have it, the anima sword. I'm grinding all of the relic weapons on my paladin. But yeah, I think this looks friggin' phenomenal. It looks friggin' fantastic, and I can't wait to see this set on my character. The one thing that I'm a little bit concerned by is the fact that if I wear this set, I can't wear my helmet, because I think that the helmet thing is what is giving this special effect. Because it actually looks like this in game. There's like a screen grab. I don't actually have it here, but it's like on the Buried Memory website. But there's a screen grab of this, and it looks phenomenal. Dude, this is like one of the best armor sets I've ever seen in the game. Hands down. Looks amazing. I even love the shield with the chains going off of it and stuff, dude. This is awesome. And then we have the Dragoon, which also looks really, really cool. Dragoon, by the way, is my melee DPS of choice, even though I don't really play these roles seriously. The only role I play seriously is tank, because I have small brain and I can only play one role decently at a time. But yeah, Dragoon also looks friggin' amazing. I love this spear, dude. I'm probably not going to be able to get this because these require you getting like Savage. And usually we only go for, you know, when it comes to weapons, stuff like that, we go only for main spec. But good God, this friggin' spear looks amazing, dude. I love it. And then you have, this is what, Samurai? Looks like Samurai. Samurai looks amazing. Really cool pauldrons going on here. And the mask, pretty friggin' sweet, dude. These raid sets look gorgeous, dude. Anyway, there's something going on with the Abyssos Mythos exchange rate. They're reducing it. The number of copies of the Abyssos Mythos 2 required for gear equipped to the head, hands, and feet will increase from 6 to 4, so that'll be a little bit easier to acquire. Exchange rate adjustments do not apply to previously implemented raids, including Asphodelos. So Asphodelos is the same, But for Abyssos, they're making it a little bit easier for you to get hands, head, and feet. Could this be because they think this this particular raid tier is going to be very hard? Because I believe that was something that Yoshi-P was saying. This raid tier is going to be really hard because he expects people to be much more familiar with their level 90 rotations now. That's one of the things that they talked about in an interview, I think, where they talk about how usually the first raid tier is a little bit easier because people aren't used to their rotations yet, whereas the second raid tier, they expect people to be used to their rotations, so they're going to make it harder. Then, like I said, new travel quest 6.25 Omicrons, and the reward. I mean, the mount reward. I don't know what the minion reward looks like. I'm not sure if they showed it. But the mount reward is this. Your character shows up inside here, like characters like Yoshi-P's Lalafell is inside the little thing. It's a space jelly mount for the Omicrons. And again, like I said, there's always story associated with these. By the way, I'm talking to potentially people that have never really done like a tribal quest or something like that. If you've never really completed a tribal quest, like there's always quest chains that do have interesting stories from time to time. They're not like super amazing compared to like MSQ, right? They're not on the same standard as the MSQ, but they are interesting self-contained stories. And I think that this one in particular is going to be very important due to like the whole themes around Ultima Thule and stuff like that. And again, this was something that I stopped myself from watching too much during the live letter because I don't want to spoil myself. I want to experience it in game. Then we had Island Sanctuary, which they spent a great deal of time talking about. And I just wanted to show this particular screen grab right at the start to give you guys an idea of the scale. Like, look at how high we are here on top, which, by the way, it seems that you'll be able to unlock flying. But look how high on top we are of this island. Look how massive the island is. And I actually watched the video where Mr. Happy like did the breakdown of all the stuff that is coming to 6.2, and he mentioned something about there potentially being a second island that they're also adding. And I'm just like, holy crap. That sounds completely wild if that is the case. But yeah, this is a lot of space, and there's going to be gathering. You're going to be able to gather stuff from these trees. You're not going to actually need gathering skills, which is cool. But yeah, you're gonna have some gathering stuff that you can do. You can see that there's a gathering log here. But again, you don't need Disciple of the Land professions leveled up. This is going to be a separate system. And also, everything that you gather is going to be placed on a material pouch for your island, and thank God for that, because my bags are already pretty full. I'm a hoarder, I know. I'm a fiend whenever it comes to organizing my inventory. My inventory is a complete and utter mess. I'm terrible with organizing it. So it's great that all of the inventory of the island just goes in here. Thank you for that, Yoshi-P. Save my inventory. Definitely needs help. You'll be able to eventually do buildings and stuff like that. And these buildings will get upgraded as your island levels up because, like, as you can see here, like this level up thing, this is for your island whenever you do enough activities in the island and whatnot, and you advance in ranks in the island, it levels up. And these buildings can also like evolve and become more developed and stuff like that. Although you can also return back to the previous form of the buildings. But again, it just seems like a nice little time sink that you can do. And the rewards are going to be like, pets, mounts, glams. And these are some of the glams you'll be able to get, even though it's a little bit overexposed there. But you guys get the idea. It looks like farmer clothing, which is pretty cool. There will be also a crop system where you'll be expected to like water your crops and so on. And again, it just seems like it's going to be a really interesting little mini game. Where it's like, it's at the end of the day, you've done all the activities that you feel like doing. Instead of going and engaging in more combat activities, you can just come in here and relax. And I think that is important to kind of give contrast of activities that you can go and do. And then they have a summary here. You can gather materials, plant crops, care for animals, do all of these things, landscape the terrain, build facilities, sell handicrafts, the works. And also you can release minions onto the island so that they, patrol the island, stuff like that. Cool that they have the little duckbill there. That's kind of like a reference to Emmet Selk. At least I've seen like theories that the duckbill is related to Emmet Selk. Sorry about that. It's just my voice is, my throat's completely dry. Anyway, you'll also be able to earn rewards and explore the wilds. It just sounds like one hell of a good time. But this was pretty much it when it comes to most of the things, with the exception of one topic that I want to make a separate video on because this is already pretty friggin' long. So the other topic that we're going to be talking about is variant dungeons, criterion dungeons, all of that jazz. But I'm going to save that for its own video. So yeah, I'll see you guys then. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe, bell notification on, all that stuff, and have a good one. Peace out.